Hey, alright. What's up, fellow flyers? Back here with part 2 of the micro J-10 build. This is using the electronics out of the ultra micro F16, which I got right here. When I left off, I was showing you how to install the EDF unit. I just went ahead and jumped right into putting it all together. I mean, it's just a 3D profile plane, so it's not that hard. So like I said, when I left off, I was installing the EDF unit with the thrust tube. So what I went ahead and did was I took the main airframe, which is the main wing. I went ahead and CA glued the thrust tube onto it. Then I went ahead and installed the top of the fuselage. Also ran a bead of CA glue down it there. And for the electronics, these come out of the F16, just the way these are set up, like right here. Now with the AS3X on these boards here on the circuit board, the CG on this plane falls right here, which is on the plans. And you'll see you want to line up the back of the circuit board with the CG. So just install your AR6400 or whatever this board is. They don't really have a name for it. It's just the UMX F16 electronics. So that's what I did. I went ahead and lined up the CG basically with the little black heat sinks right here. Show right there. And again, that's right around where the CG is, falls on this jet. So again, install your thrust tube, the EDF. Then I went ahead and installed my circuit board, or the receiver. Then I went ahead and cut out the top of the fuselage around the receiver. Then I went ahead and installed the top of the fuselage. For the rudder, as you can see, it's on the plans too. It'll tell you the rudder servo where it goes. But you're going to want to put your rudder servo, I mean, if you're looking at the plane from the rear, it goes on the right hand side. Then I went ahead and hooked up my control rod to the control horn here. And all I do when I cut out for the tail, I made sure I went ahead and V-notched it on the left hand side so that the rudder is taped on this side. And for the control horns, you can buy the little Dubro micro control horns, or they got some on eBay for the little micro albatross. They sell a pack of them. You can get like 10 of them for $5 or something. And what I do is I cut a slot in it, push the control horn through from this side, then out to this end. Of course, you always want to put your control horn centered with the center of the rudder there. I always put my little the little holes on the control horn centered with the line on the rudder. And then from that point, I went ahead and hooked up the elevons, which I used 4 little dabs of hot glue on each servo. These little linear servos. So what I do is I'll just hold the linear servo down onto the foam and then put a little dab on this corner, a little dab on that corner. And these are the control rods off of the UMX Micro F16 like I got here. I mean, this is the electronics. These are fresh from another Micro F16. You can see those are the same length as these. So once I installed my servos, which it shows you the placement of the servos on the plans too. Then I went ahead and hooked up my control rod from the servo back to the control horn, which is on my elevon. Then I stuck another control horn up through this elevon, through the bottom up to the top, hooked up another control rod going back to the control horn on the thrust vector unit. These are little thrust vector flaps. They sit right behind the thrust tube, give you the thrust vectoring. I ran the wires from my EDF unit up the side. Just went ahead and put a spot of hot glue, hold them to the foam. I don't like to use CA glue on that kind of stuff because, I mean, I might tear this jet apart, you know, in the future and build another one. So I'll just be able to pull that right off the foam, peel off the hot glue. But I use CA glue for putting this whole jet together, except for where I installed the circuit board. I used 4 little spots of hot glue, and again for the linear micro servos, 4 little spots. But the rest is all CA glue, so it keeps the weight down. I mean, if you put a stick of hot glue, using like a stick of hot glue to put this together, that's how a stick of hot glue is pretty heavy. Alright, and for the front of the EDF unit, where the air comes in for the air intake, once I went ahead and applied the top of the fuselage and the thrust tube, I went ahead and cut out about a good, I don't know, it looks like about a ½ inch there away from the front of the EDF unit, so that the air comes in nice and smooth. I mean, it's like a little vortex that comes spinning in there, and you don't want it to be getting caught up on the foam in front of it. Then from all that, I went ahead and moved on to the canards on the front. Now on the plans, this is the canards that I have on the plans. All I did was I cut a little V-notch out the top, and that way I made these ones face upward a little bit. Gave it a little dihedral. So you want to go ahead and you can go ahead and put your canards on, which it shows on the plans where they go. Then from that point, you can go ahead and install your bottom stabilizer fins, which is actually this here. And I usually put like a 15-degree angle on these so that they'll angle outward a little bit. So I set them at a little angle facing outward. Then of course you got the bottom piece, which is the bottom of the nose of the jet. For this jet here, I went ahead and used a piece of foam like that, and then I went ahead and cut out the very nose of it, and I used a popsicle stick. That's a part of a popsicle stick there, just so it wouldn't get dinged up and dented landing in the grass or anything else. And it works good for keeping the nose from getting banged up. Those are just my personal touches I do on them. This jet here I actually sold to somebody. This was just a jet I was doing for the build videos. This is my personal J-10. Now I did my canards at a straight. As you can see there, mine are straight down with no dihedral, and these ones have a little dihedral. I kind of prefer the little bit of dihedral on there. It keeps the jet more stable when you're at high alpha. So that's what I did. I went ahead and CA glued those on. Now the battery I run on these jets, here's a little 300 milliamp 35C discharge. You can get these on eBay too. I don't know if this is the Hyperion or I forget exactly which one this one is, but or you can even run the little E-Flight 280 milliamp LiPo batteries. I think they're 30C discharge. This is a 200 milliamp, but I got a 280 here, right here. Oh, it's 30C discharge. And I just use some regular Velcro. Stick on there. These are my favorite batteries to use with my microjets, but they don't even sell them no more. There's a 325 milliamp 70C discharge. It's a Thunder Power. That's the battery I prefer to use myself on all my micros. It just gets placed right on the bottom there. But again, I would recommend the 300 milliamp or the 280. You can find those easy online. Go to horizonhobby.com or eBay. The higher C discharge, the better. This one's 70C, and this little jet will get it with that battery. And again, for the wires here, I ran the wire right through the front of the EDF unit, out the front of the EDF unit here. For my battery connector, just put a little spot of hot glue, hold it in place, and it just butts up there once I apply my battery. Again, make sure when you install your electronics, you install them the same way you take them off the UMX F-16. You want your microlinear servos on the bottom of the jet, then your control rods go into your control horns. Then I just slapped another set of control horns coming up through the bottom up to the top, then continued with a control horn back to the thrust vector unit. Some other little tips and tricks for like your painting.